That's a good size.
It's a nice hotel
Yeah,
room.
that sounds good. Although somebody was murdered outside of it, I think last week is what I was told.
The PR is
I'm like, how's it-
special.
Hello, my friends.
Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, a weekly information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 13 of 2024. I'm Chris Louie, and happy that we have all three hosts together for our 3-year anniversary. That's right, episode 1 of the PEBCAK Podcast launched on March 29th, 2021. With me, I have my co-host, the Cloud God, who is joining us from the land down under. G'day, mate.
Yeah, I don't know that anyone says "g'day, mate." Everyone does call each other mate, though. It's kind of cool. And I was like, when we were walking with the local team, I'm like, you know that guy? I'm like, no, we just call everyone mate. I was like, all right. So
G'day, mate.
if I'm in the world down under, does that mean you guys are in the world up and over? Is that how that works?
Yes, that's how it works.
What
By
do
the
you
way-
call a female over there? A matey?
Yeah, I don't know. I think everyone's just mate.
Huh. Okay.
It's a generic term for anybody.
Yeah, it must be. I was excited to sadly to come down here and flush the toilet and see if the water goes down the opposite direction, like the
Simpsons
counterclockwise.
episode, yeah.
And?
I think they've replaced every single toilet with these crazy things where this thing dumps a crazy amount of water from both the front and the back. It's just gushed out. There's
Just a
no
deluge
plug
of
in these
water.
things. It is, yeah, man. It's pretty wild. It
European
is.
style. Yeah.
What was Al Bundy's toilet? Was it a Ferguson? It could flush
Ferguson.
18 golf balls. Was it Ferguson?
You know what you could do to test that theory out is you fill the sink up with water if you can, and then let it out and see if it goes the opposite way.
Right, just pull the
That's a
plug.
good idea. I will record
There
it
you go.
and send it to you guys.
Alright.
Another fun thing.
Just make sure
So-
it's not on TikTok, so it's not in reverse.
Oh, right. Don't worry,
Sorry,
it's not
I
going on
don't mean to
TikTok.
interrupt you.
No, you're good. One thing that was interesting is I got down here and I paid to make sure I have international, and I had seen that my phone was connecting through Los Angeles Zscaler. I was like, that's kind of weird. I should be going through Sydney or Melbourne, depending on where I'm at. And so then I have the ability to turn off Zscaler, and next thing you know, it's going through Glendale, Arizona. And so I'm perplexed. I have no idea. I'm like, why am I not going through the local? So
Egressing out
Do-
the opposite side of the planet.
I am. So do you guys know why that is actually happening?
Did you
Probably has
set
to
up
do
a
something.
tunnel for yourself?
Or peering.
Yeah.
No. So there's a company, what the heck does it stand for? Global Systems for Mobile Communications. And so basically, if you run a telco, you are part of this. And so there's this total hidden network that is giant, think of the Internet 2 or Internet 3, I have no idea. And every telco participates in this, so that if I'm a US citizen flying into Australia, once I join their local telco, it recognizes that I am US, and it takes my traffic and literally sends it down a GRE tunnel to the US.
What?
And yeah. And so I had experienced this in Singapore, and everyone said I was an idiot. They're like, no, there's no way you're egressing out of Atlanta.
Arizona.
Yeah. And so then it dug into this. And so this isn't a US thing to make us secure. What's your question? Oh, you're trying to get the hand signals up? Yeah. So this
You
isn't
raise your
a
hand on the
US
Zoom.
thing. Yeah. This is not a US thing to make this happen. It's actually, even if you were in Australia or an Australian citizen, you're flying into Berlin, you're flying into New York, and like that, you will always come back to Australia on that phone. So it's very important.
For
I
data?
guess
For data or for calling as well? Is it? I guess it's
It's
all
like
VoIP calling,
GDPR
right?
thing. Or
Yeah.
data sovereignty
Yep.
or something.
it must be something like that. I'm not too sure why, but you can look it up. It's gsma.com. And yeah, they just broker these connections, go back and forth. It's pretty wild how that works. Because I was really scratching my head until I figured this one out. And what's even
GSMA.
more interesting, yeah, I talked with all the architects at Zscaler. Everyone's they kind of completely missed the point. And then I actually, when I was down here, I ran into Nathan Howe, and he's like, "Dude, I know exactly what's going on." And he basically ran into the same experience. He's like, what the hell is going on? Like, why is my traffic going across the world to go out to the internet? By the way, it's completely usable. That's the craziest thing. I can get on YouTube, check email. I can get on FaceTime. You name it. It works perfect. Like, it is insane. It's this hidden network they have. Anyways, he's the one that turned me on to this. And yeah, there are fun things to come when we think about this as well. So I'll leave it at that.
It's a shadow government, Brian. Don't let them pull the wool over your eyes.
Your internet and your voice traffic is going over that hidden network, right? So
Yeah.
you take out your laptop, it's going over the normal closest data center to you.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, obviously, right? Because I don't have a 4 or 5G connection in my laptop. But I wonder if I had it on my iPad, if I had it like through Verizon or AT&T, I'm willing to reckon that traffic would just go back.
Probably backhaul
to the States.
US.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Interesting.
And you, I mean, it's not carrier dependent, right? I'm sure all carriers do the same thing.
If you want to be a carrier, you have to do this. Like, you have to
Okay.
buy into this platform and do that. And I was like, how's it? I was like, I don't think this works in China. They're like, no, it does. But China still has the big old firewalls there and doing crazy things.
Great firewall.
Mm. Okay.
And we have Glenn Medina, or should we call him Korean Barbecue Glenn, or KBG. It was great seeing you yesterday.
Yeah, awesome. Well, you saw it. I mean, how great was that place? How many places can you go and get Korean barbecue now that still serves it over charcoal?
Charcoal.
Not many.
And full service, too. They cook it for you. That was great.
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome.
No guest this week. We were supposed to have our fourth host on, but he couldn't make it.
I would say, Todd, if you're listening, you suck, but we know you don't listen either, along with not showing up. So there's that. Unlike our faithful guests that we have.
Yeah, Brian joined all the way from Australia.
I know.
Just want to play with my friends.
Combined, we have decades of information security experience in here, not just to educate, but to entertain. We've got 4 awesome stories for you this week, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, by popular request, Brian asked me to do my best Australian accent before we get the show started.
I'm not.
If I had an Australian accent, I'd never shut up, mate.
That's a little bit of Texas inside
A
there,
little bit of
twang
Texas,
as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of Texas.
I'd never
Oid?
shut up, mate.
Wait.
This
So
week,
that's-
we're going to talk about drugs again. No honor among thieves. Surprise, surprise. For our third topic, an online gaming tournament gets hacked. And close with hidden camera talk. For our first topic, hackers are yet again providing something new. Oxycodone as a service. Hackers are breaching systems used by doctors to write electronic prescriptions. And for a fee, they will write you a prescription for your choice of controlled substance. Hackers are stealing existing accounts and they're creating brand new accounts based on information stolen in healthcare-related data breaches. People have asked, what is the value of hacked medical information? Well, this is one potential avenue where they are monetizing it by impersonating doctors and writing prescriptions to anyone who will pay. The scammers also have runners similar to money mules to go pick up the prescriptions and then resell them online at a huge profit.
Hey, when it comes to the opioid crisis, you're just printing money. So I can see exactly why they're doing this. And it's a little bit more regulated now, thank God. Have we ever talked about the movie Painkiller on the podcast? Or the documentary,
drama
I
series?
don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah.
So to go off on my Brian Deitch tangent for number 2 for the day, I watched the show and it's talking about how they used to really push these painkillers everywhere. And it really hit home. Like there's this guy, he's working, he falls, takes a scary fall, and then he ends up getting addicted to these things that jacked up his back. If you go back in time, early 2000s, I was doing something. I think I sneezed, threw my back out, right? I'm just crawling around just in utter pain. And I went to the doctors and I got muscle relaxers and I got Oxy. And forget the muscle relaxers. Guess how many Oxy they gave me in the ER, and I just said that my back hurt.
30.
100.
300.
300.
300. Yeah, there's this
It's like a
massive
year's
pill
supply.
bottle. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I remember taking it, and I was talking to my stepdad. I was like, he's like, you feel better? I was like, I'm still in pain, but I feel super loopy. And then I was like, I don't think I'm gonna take it. Like, I don't like how I feel. But when you go back to this painkiller movie and how people got addicted to it, like I was like, it was there. It was this bait. He was waiting to bait me in, and I somehow dodged it. I have no idea how I got lucky, but I could be, a pillhead. So I'm not.
300 is a lot.
I had a friend or an acquaintance. No, it was a really good friend, and he had one of these 300 pill bottles, and I mean, he chewed them like there was no tomorrow. And I wasn't talking just one.
Like
and I've taken one, and it makes me feel like real loopy. But I can't imagine taking a handful and just chomping them down.
Would you chew an oxy? Can't that taste?
That's what
horrible?
he did. That's what he did, and he chugged it down with water or Diet Coke or
Well, they
coffee.
care about the taste. You get high quicker that way, I think, because if you crush it up, and some people snort it, actually, it just depends because it increases the surface area. I
Well,
guess.
to his defense, he was a prior military guy, and he screwed up his back. He never walked straight. He kind of walked with this kind of back in the his spine was in a weird position compared to how he walked, and I felt really bad for him because I think he had I think in order to get that he was on a plane that had a really tough landing and broke the landing gear, and so that's why he was on pain medication for so long. It's really tough.
It's unfortunate.
That is tough. When it comes to back stuff, like it sucks that they can't fix it, right? You always hear these people that do the surgery, and all it does is just make it even worse. Very few times. I don't think I've ever talked to anybody that's had back surgery where they're like, yes, I'm actually better than I was before.
It's like a chronic condition now.
Maybe
So going back to this.
Yeah.
So this is exactly like the article read, right? It's like it's the current day script stealing, right? You're basically stealing prescription slips.
Yep.
So how could this not have been seen, other than the fact that now that doctors were probably seeing repeated electronic prescriptions, probably more than normal, right? I mean, I think the tune was like several thousand prescriptions were being run per day.
Yeah, you would think that would raise up some kind of red flags in the DEA system, but that assumes that they're competent enough to be able to flag things like this.
I was.
It took a
standing in
while.
line. Oh, I do think they actually have something for that, because I was standing at a pharmacy and some lady was complaining that she couldn't get her refill, and they told her that she was beyond the number of refills in a given year, even though the doctor had given her permission to get a refill on it. So there's like, she basically was like, I think it was a DEA thing saying you can only have X amount in a certain 12 months.
That dang government getting in the way of me getting my medicine.
Getting to have fun.
But did you read, as a 21-year-old kid, his lawyer responded in an email like, I fully expect that my client will be exonerated, but in a sentence before that he put, my client is 21 years old with no criminal record. Well, that doesn't mean anything. You meant harm in that, and you were trying to make money. So I don't think it should matter how old you were.
I mean, did he try to create harm?
Criminal intent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the systems have gotten better over the years, because you read these stories of these pill mills, and I can't remember the exact number, but it was something like a town with a population 3,000 people prescribes something like 300,000 oxycodone pills in a year or something. Like there's no way that that's a legitimate use of the drug for a town that size.
Yeah, one of the guys said, he goes, hey, I live, just north of Pill Hill. I was like, oh, is that where you go to score your illicit drugs, my friend? This is in Sydney. He's like, no, Pill Hill is like where Bayer and Medtronic and other pharmaceuticals are at they have their labs. It's like, oh, really? I was like, Pill Hill in the U.S. is a different story, brother.
Oh, the colloquialism that we differ in language and in structure, right? So
yeah. I wonder why there aren't better, like for the ones where they said they created brand new accounts, like why aren't there better controls? Like I've done things, I think I was buying some cryptocurrency or something, and the checks that they make you do to make you take a picture of ID, make you take a picture of your selfie with your cell phone camera. Like, why can't they do that with, if you want to create a new account that can write prescriptions? Sure, you have all the doctor's information, but why can't they tie into something like ID.me and have, these additional checks to make sure you are the real person?
Well, you would think they do that when you vote too, right? You don't have to. You don't have to validate who you are. You just have to say that you live here. So, I agree. I mean, think about, like, they said they had mules grabbing these prescriptions. With what ID were they using to grab these prescriptions?
Fake ID, I guess.
Fake ID? Really?
Yeah, like, just like Western Union fraud for the money mules. Like, they don't check that closely.
18,500 fraudulent prescriptions spread over 18 states. Even if you use the same ID 2 or 3 times, which shouldn't trigger anything, it's still like 6,000 new IDs that you're using.
Did you guys ever see the Parks and Rec episode where the park ranger came up to Ron and asked him, he's like, "Do you have a permit?
You have a
do
permit?"
this here?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yes, I have one right here." And it says, "I can do what I want." Signed, Ron Swanson.
Yeah.
Because he's a tax-paying citizen. I loved it.
He's the man. For our second topic, if we needed more evidence that there's no honor among thieves, the incognito Darknet marketplace was an online bazaar to buy, sell, and trade illegal drugs similar to the Silk Road or Alphabet. The owner of the incognito market exit scammed and stole all of the deposits in the buyers and sellers' accounts and posted a taunting message on an underground forum. The owner is threatening to release all of the transaction details and chat logs from Incognito Market to the police and to blockchain analysis firms unless individual buyers or sellers pay him an extortion fee. For anywhere between $200 and $10,000, he will delete your data before handing it over to the authorities.
Talk about biting the hand that feeds you.
This guy just made a lot of enemies.
Yeah.
I just had to Google what bazaar meant, number one. And then when I came back, it was towards the end of your recap. So I agree with you. Biting the hand that feeds you. But I don't know, like, even if you did turn this information over to, let's say I was a buyer, and you're like, "Oh, I'm going to tell the authorities on you." And so then you give it to Mesa Police Department. They're probably going to be like, "We really don't care." You know what I mean? I think I'm going to save my money. Do you think, unless you're moving pallets of stuff, then maybe you can get the DEA involved. But I don't think it's like that.
It's probably going after the sellers, the dealers. I would think they would be more likely to be the ones in trouble.
Who do you think is in this? Does he think these are individual contributors here? These are organizations. I would like to believe they're probably crime organizations that have deep pockets and deep everything, right? And he's just put a big target on his back, like you said, Chris.
Yeah, this
crazy.
If you learn anything from watching Netflix shows, it's you do not mess with the cartels. You do not want trouble with the local cartels.
No, not at all.
There's actually an online heat map, I guess. The owner of the Darknet marketplace says this is a list of all the sellers, and these are the sellers who have paid, and these are the sellers who have not paid. I think that's to make people nervous. It's as if you bought something from someone who hasn't paid, to pressure that seller into paying the extortion fee so their details don't get released.
They always say, like,
that is crazy.
Big pharma is like a $1 trillion or maybe multi-billion-dollar, drug scheme, but they also say the cartel is like 10x that, which is, I think, 10x. Maybe it's 100. I have no idea, but that's just insane. The amount of money that's actually going on there. Like, think Walter White said that if he stopped producing, right, that companies the size, companies so big that could be listed on the NASDAQ would go under. Is this incredible?
This is just a small fraction of the illicit drug trade that they went online, and then they help connect buyers and sellers, and then they took their cut. But the overall illicit drug trade is huge, I bet.
Chris, like if you said, "Hey Brian, can you send me some drugs over the mail?" I'd probably be, "No, man, we'll get caught." Like I can't even like believe that this is a thing that actually works.
When I watched the documentary about the Silk Road and maybe Alpha Bay, they said they would use like drops. So you'd find an abandoned house somewhere, get it mailed there, and then after the postman delivers, then you run up and take it. So you would never use a real name, never use a real return address.
The postman, like it got, those drugs got X-rayed at some point in time. Like you just think that the ability as it's coming in, doing something that we find it. It's almost like Boy Scouts promise that we have. There's nothing bad in here. Just send it. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand that. You think that they'd have better ways of finding illicit things like that?
I think at least here in the U.S., to inspect a package, I think they have to have a warrant and probable cause. They don't just randomly X-ray packages. And I think a lot of the, unlike FedEx and UPS, which is why I think a lot of the illicit drug trade, at least domestically here in the U.S., they actually choose to use the post office because they're more regulated than private companies.
I thought they scanned everything just for flammability and stuff like that, just to ensure, even though they asked you, there's still some concern that something may be sent on a plane that could be hazardous cargo, even though you denied the fact that it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible maybe they X-ray it, but they're not allowed to legally open it. So all you'll see is a vacuum sealed bag with some material in it, and I don't know how much you can tell based on an X-ray. Is this cookie dough? Is this flour? Or is this cocaine?
A dog could smell through that, though.
Yeah, that's true. Drug sniffing dogs.
That depends how it's packed, right? They've been able to get around that.
Yeah, vacuum sealed bags and packaged shit.
Look who's the expert drug smuggler all of a sudden?
Hey, not I.
Medina from South Phoenix.
There was a really interesting talk at DEF CON. It was something like Confessions of an Ex-Dark Marketplace Seller, and he went into these details of the U.S. Postal Service, the Post Office of Inspector General or something. They have to have a warrant to open it. And then what was funny, at least to me, was for every package mailed in the U.S., you have to have a valid return address. And if you have an invalid return address, that's a huge red flag. And I think that means that they can open it up. It has an invalid return address. So then he says,
but valid could be your neighbor.
Yes.
Sorry, Chris.
That's true. But this dark marketplace vendor said he was in a moral dilemma because he's like, I don't want my neighbor getting his door kicked in because he's just an innocent guy. So who has to publish their address online, and who are universally scumbags that I don't mind if the police kicks their door in? So he went online and looked up the database of all the sexual predators in his area, because by law they have to publish their address, and no one has any sympathy for them if the police kicks in the door. So he used their address as the quote valid return address on all these drugs that he sold.
I can get behind that.
That's just wrong. I'm sorry. Wrong is wrong.
I'll have to find it, and if I find it, I'll link to it. It was a pretty good talk at DEF CON.
Hey, you know what I used to do is I used to send postcards when I was in Germany to myself. I would actually do the reverse order of the or just mail letters reverse, and have them go back to the original. No postage page, right? So I'm sure they found around that now, but yeah. I'm cheap.
One time I was filing my taxes like the old-fashioned way, and I was going to just send that bad boy via mail. And I remember filling out the stuff, and the post office clerk is like, "Are you trying to get audited?" I'm like, "Why is that?" She's like, "You didn't put a return address. Like, I guarantee you could get audited." I was like, "All right, better do that."
Yep, huge red flag.
Yeah, for packages, but for letters, you don't have to have a return address for letters, especially if you just drop them off.
I mean, I still think it's still suspicious, but I don't think it gets red flag like a package.
Yeah.
What was that one thing that they were putting in envelopes back in the day. It was like a terrorist thing. You can start with like
Is
a
it
S
the
or something.
anthrax or ricin?
Anthrax. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Can you imagine ricin?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Another Breaking Bad reference.
Mm.
Two in one episode again. We are killing it, guys.
Yeah, I think it was
I gotta get back on
right
track.
after 9/11. I think there was all these anthrax letters getting sent out, and I mean they screen all the mail that goes to the White House and the U.S. Capitol. That's where they caught a lot of it. For our third topic, a recurring theme here is never discount the abilities of online gamers and their desire to grief other players for multiplayer online games. As we talked about before, the massive Log4j bug was originally discovered by Minecraft players trying to grief each other and would go on to be a top exploited vulnerability for that year. Online threat actors have found a new remote code execution bug in the popular game Apex Legends and demonstrated that capability on the world stage during the 2024 North American Finals of the ongoing Apex Legends Global Series, or ALGS. In the middle of match number 3, one of the players all of a sudden had game cheats installed on his machine with an aimbot, autofire, and even an option to vote for Vladimir Putin. Instead of ending the match, the
race the
affected...
other day.
Oh, the presidential? Yeah, I think got like 83% of the vote.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder why it
Good for
wasn't
him,
closer.
man. Don't know how he does
I
it.
mean, wonder why it wasn't like 99% to 1.
Because that would be unbelievable, Chris.
It would be, yeah. It's totally believable. He won 83% of the vote, and his main opposition just suddenly died a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, God. All right.
Instead of
back
ending the
to-
match, the affected player had to drop out, and his team went on to lose because they were one man down. During the next match, the same thing happened again to another player, and a different aimbot cheat software was installed on a player's machine, and then eventually the event organizers finally shut it down. A person claiming to be the hacker behind the attacks, codenamed Destroyer 2009, said that they used a remote code execution vulnerability to hack the player's clients. The alleged threat actor did not specify if the flaw was in the actual game client, the anti-cheat software, or something else.
Go ahead and
So,
go first.
remote code execution, they installed it. So basically, they got phished and they had some illegal software on their computer. Is that what I'm understanding, Chris?
I don't think so. I think because when you enter these legitimate game tournaments, especially held by the developer of the game, I think they have to have like clean installs. Like they have to have clean installs. They have to have very specific hardware requirements. Like there's only certain acceptable keyboards and mouse and peripherals. There's no way that they had any unauthorized software on here. So what happened was there is some kind of vulnerability in the game, and I don't know why they were internet connected, but somebody got into their machine, did a remote code execution, and installed this cheat software on their machine remotely.
It was probably the other players playing against him, you know what I mean?
That's what they used to do. When you're playing Call of Duty, you just DDoS the other person offline.
Sneaky. But, yeah.
But
Well,
this
there's
is
big
even
money
more
now.
clever,
I
'cause
mean,
you're making them look like a cheater, right?
yeah.
So, would you believe that a champion winner of ALGS, which I've never even played, couldn't even identify it in a stack of games, could make $500,000? Does that blow your mind?
I would have never believed it before, but I do now.
Yeah,
After
esports has
watching League.
exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah, League of Legends, Fortnite. I mean, the winner of the Fortnite Global Challenge won like $1 million, and I think he's like 16 years old.
Yeah. You know, the old adage when your parents used to tell you you're never going to become anything if you play video games all day, that's gone out the window.
Well, those
you're never
kids
gonna make
became
money staring at a
adults.
computer screen, Glenn.
What's that? What's that, Chris?
Said you're never gonna make money staring at a computer screen all day, Glenn.
I'd like to prove my mom wrong now. So,
You know what happened? Those kids became adults, and those adults figured out a way to monetize video games to prove their moms wrong.
true.
Remember, if you used to get in trouble for you'll go blind if you sit at the TV too close.
Too close, and then We come full circle now. We have literally TVs in front of our eyeballs with VR.
Oh man, I re-enabled screen time. I turned it off for some reason for my daughter and had to turn it back on. And she's so annoyed. There's a newer feature in screen time. It's like a proximity of like how close the phone is to the face. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Wow.
No.
Did not know.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's like unnecessary eye strain on there. She's like, "Can you turn that off, please?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna leave it on. Screw you."
Means
So wait,
need
you turned it on
glasses if you have
her
to hold the
phone?
phone that close.
You turned it on her phone as a
Yeah.
parent, or
As a parent, yeah, because I love her.
yeah, good for you. I take it she's the only person's phone that you can control because everyone else pays for their phone.
Yeah, well, the moment they all turned 18, I stopped doing it, and I was like, make your own decisions. I'm good to go with that. I don't mind.
Yeah. So you have one left that's under 18. Good for you.
Yeah. Make your own.
Well, Chris is still battling the idea of getting his kid a phone, or kids a phone
Gotta
each.
Put that one off as long as humanly possible.
Anyways, it's called screen distance. So it's a feature to reduce eye strain. Is the feature is screen time, and
That's a good feature.
I think. So the kids have always kind of even at a younger age they had an iPad, and that was a mofo to do when there was no screen time. It's basically like, hey, this device goes in mom and dad's room. You can play with it for an hour here or there. And now that you have screen time, you can be a little bit more flexible with it. But my daughter she had a quote unquote phone in 7th and 8th grade because she bought it on herself, but she didn't have service. And so this is her first year with internet, and she didn't get straight A's last quarter. So she went from having internet everywhere to no internet, no service. She's like, this sucks. And then she turned it back around and got it. Got the semester grade up to an A as well, so which is pretty cool.
Nice. I think my older one is at the age where none of her peers have cell phones, but they are starting to get to the age where they all have cellular connected Apple Watches, and that's for location tracking, and then in emergency you'll be able to call mom or dad.
Oh.
If we had AirTags when my kids were younger, I would have never got them phones, because everyone else around them, technically, I could track them that way.
Yeah, just ping the AirTag.
We should ask your daughter to rate you on a level of 1 to 10 of how great of a dad you were.
Oh, I'm total.
I bet you she'll say 10. I'm just kidding.
No. I think it would probably depend on what age you ask them, because I still have this theory, and it's still consistent, that from 0 to 12 they think you're a god. There's nothing you could do that is going to upset them, and they love you forever. Then the minute they turn 13 to about 24, they think you're the dumbest person on earth. Then at about 25, they love you again, because they realize
Dad
holy
was
crap,
right.
Dad was right. I got to pay for now. So
Be glad my daughter falls within that first range, and if you ask her, I don't think she'll say she hates me, but I will say we have a challenging relationship.
yeah. So Brian, compare what I just said in that to where you are. Am I kind of on spot?
I don't know yet, right? So the 13 to 18 for my oldest daughter, maybe not, maybe 15, 18. We got along great, even though I'm the quote unquote evil stepdad. I turned out not to be, but she did beef a lot with my wife. But the moment she turned 18, they got really close together again. But she's still in the house. My son didn't really have any issues there at all. And then my other daughter, that's 19, she beefed a lot with mom from 13 all the way up, and she didn't get close with her until she moved out. But she did listen pretty well the whole time about. No, I guess not. She did think that she'd be able to do certain things financially, very easy. But now it's just she has to pay taxes. She's like, oh my god. But I'll give her applaud her, man. She's killing it. I think she made $8,000 or $9,000 last month doing fake eyelashes, right? Like it's kind of insane how well she's doing for being such a young kid. And then she's bought a golden retriever puppy, so I couldn't be happier. So now I got a new dog to play with.
So how do we hire a set of teens and pay them about $4,000 a month, and then we own the other half of that money? I think we should own stores that do this, or like work from home, so we have to do brick and mortar. Yeah, let's go be investments, Brian. Investors. We'll be angel investors for that.
We've talked about this. So the idea would be, pay somebody maybe $25 an hour, give them 40 hours a week, and then it's really our responsibility to drive clients into the business. And then that should be a no-brainer. And the idea would be, maybe have 4 to 6 seats that they can do. It could be pretty lucrative.
Yeah.
Well, let me know. I'll write a check. We'll all be investors.
I like it. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, look at this. We're in. We're all going to go into this together. I like it.
That's right.
We'll call it the PEBCAK Salon.
We'll fund the security summits.
We'll hire a marketing team to help us come up with a catchy name.
Absolutely.
The PEBCAK Pub has a nice catch to it.
How about the Peblash?
No, the Peblash. That's a little bit closer. I remember, I think my daughter's sister, which is not my daughter, but it doesn't make any sense. It's a very complicated thing. She started the whole thing first, and then she was trying to, save enough money to get married, and she called it Lashed by Sierra. I was like, do you know what lashing is? Like, I don't know if this is, but it was like, yeah, but no, the girls don't care, man. They're easygoing, yeah. So
yeah. For our last topic, and it'll be a rotating topic every week. This week, we're going to talk about Airbnb's new policy of not allowing indoor security cameras. Previously, Airbnb only allowed indoor cameras if they were in a common area, that is, no bathrooms or bedrooms, and only if the cameras were clearly visible. The obvious use for the landlords is so that they could monitor for damage and to see if the house was throwing a raging party, also prohibited by Airbnb rules. Due to privacy concerns and complaints from renters, Airbnb now has a blanket policy of no longer allowing indoor cameras. You can still have doorbell cameras and outdoor cameras to know when people arrive and leave, but preserves the privacy of the renters inside. Brian, as a landlord for a rental house, how do you feel about the new camera rules?
So it doesn't affect me at all. So I've always been of the mindset, if you're going to have cameras, then I don't want to infringe on their own privacy. So we do have cameras, but we're all on the perimeter of the house, not anything pointed in. As far as the throwing a raging party, there are devices that you can install in the house that pick up voices only to help notify you on that. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, we don't have to worry about the indoor stuff. I think it makes sense. And heck, like, man, there's some creepy people out there. Like, I'm 100% on board. You shouldn't have no cameras inside.
Has anyone ever walked up to your ring and like licked it or anything like that?
No, little kids will always like they'll hit the doorbell a lot.
The age-old doorbell ditch.
Yeah. Well, no, the kids that are staying there, they're hitting it all the time.
Yeah. Just like to hear the sound it makes.
So this is one of those common sense laws, right? This has me a little frustrated because I've used Airbnb before. I didn't know you could have cameras inside common areas, and I'm the type of guy, I'll walk around in my underwear, right? No, like, I don't care. But
Dad,
I
can
guess,
you please put on some pants?
Thanks for not doing
these
that.
are one of the things
at the security summit, by the way.
Yeah, these are one of those things that was a little cold. So these are one of those things. It's like, this is why I'm so. I'm a little concerned if I were ever to have to use someone else's property as opposed to like a hotel. Now, you go through the whole rank and change it. I'm sure this has happened at hotels as well with private cameras and two-way mirrors at these seedy hotels. But I just the thought of having someone have the capability of taping or recording me is a little icky. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
So we stayed in a VRBO that had a camera like in the main room, and we didn't see it. And as we walked in, all we were doing is just talking shit about how much the house sucked. So yeah, there's that. But you know what? Yeah. So just real quick, when it comes to damages, right? There's the way that we looked at this is like, and as a renter before, like I would always panic, like especially when I had kids, like if I do damage to this house, like I don't want to be held responsible. And one of the cool things you can do is like we basically say, if you want to stay at our house, you can either do option 1, do a $5,000 deposit, and as long as you don't mess up my house, then you're free to go about your business and get your money back. Or you can just buy travel insurance. It's $120, but the peace of mind is if you do any damage, just tell us. It's no big deal. Like you're off the hook, right?
Yeah.
And so many people just sign up for the damage, and it's well worth it in my opinion. I do it when I travel as well.
But there's some, and I know this is from a landlord. You can only charge 1x or 2x or 3x as much as the rent would be in order to cover that, and it's a security deposit. It's not for all of it. Can't be used for damages per se. Like I said, I'd have to go look at the laws on that, but it was a little funky where you can't really fully recover. Like for instance, damages, a security deposit for damages, and you could only charge 2x, but they had the floor to replace the floor cost $15,000, and you're like, I'll never recover that, right?
Yeah.
So
I think for transit lodging, it's a little bit different than a rental.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in California, like it's signing a traditional lease now. Starting this year, you're only allowed to charge 1 month's rent for security deposit, because that was allegedly pricing out people that couldn't afford 3 months rent up front for a security deposit.
Crazy. It's just, California is just not friendly to owners.
No, it's not. Yeah, I've been to some not Airbnb, VRBOs, and they had cameras on the outside just to monitor who goes in and out. And that's fine. That's in a public space. But I think if they had any indoor cameras, that would definitely creep me out, and I wouldn't want to stay there.
And those are the ones that you know about, right? You don't know about, like I said, you always watch these TikToks or whatnot.
The nanny cams.
Or the two-way cameras or the plugs. Those are things I know that I've always walked around and go, what are these things, right? Like, what does this look like? This is kind of weird.
You could always put a sheet or a plastic bag over the smoke detector, Glenn, if you're worried about a hidden camera.
Well, then, if there's a fire, how are you going to get... It doesn't work that way, Chris. Says the guy who blockades the door with a bed. So.
Yeah, you can never be too careful.
Yeah.
I think it's good, especially like when Airbnb did the raging party ban. They thought business would suffer. They seem to be doing fine now. They have this indoor camera ban. I'm pretty sure they're going to be fine. I think more renters were complaining about it than the owners now that will complain about their inability to monitor what's going on inside.
I can't believe it was ever even allowed, to be honest with you.
Agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah, we had a friend of the show, Jim French. He owned a rental property, and he was complaining about either damages or stolen things or things going missing. He said it was such a headache for him that he ended up just selling the place, that he's no longer offered that just because it wasn't worth the headache anymore.
Good old Jim. I haven't talked to him in a while. I like that guy.
Yeah, maybe the rules or the clientele in North Carolina might be different than the clientele you get out in Flagstaff, Brian, or you just haven't encountered that yet.
Well, it depends what type of property you're looking at.
Well, I think we also kind of price ourselves out of the freeloaders, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, we continue to get great comments about our dad joke of the week.
Dad joke of the week.
This week, Brian's up, and I hope you have an Australian-themed dad joke.
I know. Better be good, mate.
Man, you guys are stupid. You think I do that? No. I don't assimilate. Try to steal people's culture. So yeah, let me see here. I wrote down 2 today.
And he is wearing the American flag shirt in Australia, so that's awesome.
Yeah. By the way, like people here are so freaking nice. Like I went to the gym today. I was looking for a drop in, and I don't know what it is in the U.S., but I was like, "How much is a day pass?" He's like, "Oh, it's $50." I was like, "Okay." He goes, "How much how long you plan on staying here?" Or I just explained to him I was from the U.S. and the phone number wouldn't work on the sign up. I was like, "Oh, I'm leaving Monday." He's like, "Oh, just come back again tomorrow. We'll just do it for 22 instead." I didn't even have to ask him. He's just a nice dude. I was like, "All right."
That's awesome.
I was pretty good gym. Yeah, everyone's very nice around here. No one's hostile. It's not like the U.S. So whatever. Anyways, had a good workout. And it was the first, so the first day I landed here, Chris was like dogging me because what was the first thing I did when I got into Sydney, Chris?
You hit the gym.
Hit the gym. Yeah.
Hit the gym. You sent us a picture. I asked you, like, did you land yet? It's like, I just landed. I'm leaving the airport now. And then, like, maybe 10 minutes later, he sends us a picture of him at the gym.
Well, no, I sent you a picture of the speed bag because that thing humbled me.
You mean this picture?
Uh-oh. Let's see. Oh, God. Chris, how did you come across this, you jerk?
I have my ways.
Did Nathan send
Oh,
you?
this is...
I've got my ways.
So,
Was that in Australia?
It is.
It's
So
an Australian hat.
they had. So what they did is we have to get this dad joke eventually, guys. But they called it so it was a meeting with the local team. They said they were doing the Sydney experience, and so Ben, the local RVP, he's like, we got you some gifts. I'm like, why are you guys doing this? Like, it's not.
That's
not
nice.
needed. Yeah, it's so sweet. And so they got me that hat, and they're like, you have to wear this to dinner. And it had like these things dangling, and they hit me in the eyeball. So
They look like
whatever.
crocodile teeth.
Yeah, I think so.
Crocodile teeth, Brian.
I think so. Let me go grab it real quick. And then
Did they get you a walking stick too? One of those whistle sticks?
Didgeridoo.
Whatever the heck those- The didgeridoo, yeah.
Didgeridoo.
no walking stick. This green hat. It barely fits my giant head. Chris is
That's
taking
awesome.
Chris is taking a picture right now. So
Well, he's recording the pod, so
yeah,
it needs to
a
be
beer
talking about
koozie because apparently I didn't think we have beer koozies in the U.S. And then this little tiny koala, so I had something to like a little teddy bear, so that way I had something to cuddle with.
Bring back to the
And
kids.
then, oh my god, yeah. And then all right, so they give me some Tam Tams or Tim Tams. What are they called?
Tim Tams.
Tams.
Yeah.
Tim Tams.
What the hell's that?
Tim Tams.
It's like a
They're
cookie.
delicious cookies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you eat it with Vegemite? Did you have a
I was gonna
Vegemite
ask
there?
us, yeah. Did you
Ugh.
have any Vegemite?
How the heck do you guys know about Vegemite?
Vegemite.
Mate, it's an
Put it on
Australian
bread,
thing.
Put it on. Yeah.
Ugh,
Maybe
yeah.
eat down there.
It's like dried soy sauce to me.
Pretty much.
Yeah, like so the
Vegemite.
Tim Tams, they supposedly taste better than the American ones. So I'm gonna save it, and I'll let you guys know. We'll do like a little
They're amazing.
taste test. But they gave me Vegemite, and I was like, oh, what is this? They're like, oh, this, put your finger in there and like use your little finger. I'm like, is this like a bump? And I'm gonna snort it. And
Long
they're like, taste
fingernail.
it. They're like, you're gonna love it. And so I taste the Vegemite or whatever it's called. I'm like, it tastes like someone chewed walnuts for the first time and then spit it directly in my mouth. They're like, oh, you don't like it? I'm like, no, this is terrible. Like, what are you trying to do? They're like, no, put it on toast. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I can't. That's so funny that you knew about that, Glenn.
I've had some. It's
Yeah,
not that
most
great.
people know about Vegemite if they know anything
Yeah.
about Australia. That's like their national food there. Or
Oh,
the Tim
it
Tams.
is.
Tim
It's
Tams.
replaced peanut butter with Vegemite.
They said they used real sugar with the Tim Tams here, and also an emulsifier. That way, the chocolate doesn't melt the same way it does in the States or something. I don't know. All right, dad joke time.
Let's go.
Dad
I have
joke
to edit
of
all
the
this out.
week.
Dad joke of the week. To the guy who invented zero, thanks for nothing.
Wah, wah, wah. There you go.
I'm sure somebody's like, how do you know it wasn't a woman? I don't know. Like, I don't care. Like, just, it was supposed to be funny. Just get off my back.
I thought it was great.
Okay, good.
Good job, Ryan.
Good job, Brian.
So, it's interesting. They're not that, like, they replicate the U.S. here, but they're not fully on there yet. So they're dropping some words that would get you canceled. Not like the N word, right? Like not like that, but just talking about technology. Not any Zscaler people, but on the customer side. Not the customers that I met either. Just in general, just people walking by, just hearing the R word left and right. I was like, oh, all right. So that hasn't been canceled down here yet. Still PC.
Yeah, like in the UK, they still refer to cigarettes as the F slur. Like go out for an F slur. Like, it's still acceptable there.
But that's a legitimate thing. Like that's never mind. We know what we're gonna get in trouble. Let's just stop right now.
Well, quit while we're ahead.
Quit while we're ahead. Exactly.
All right, to wrap things up, you can now get drugs as a service. Incognito Market exits scammed and is extorting its customers and sellers. Apex Legends suffers a public embarrassment, and no more indoor cameras at Airbnb. That's all we have for this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. You can find us on LinkedIn. Links will be in the description. Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank you all listeners and subscribers who rated us 5 stars in the iTunes Store and Spotify and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is to search for the PEBCAK Podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. My co-hosts Brian Deitch and Glenn Medina. I'm Chris Louie. Thanks for listening. We'll see y'all next weekend. As always, have a nice day.
Dang, Chris, I can't believe you said that over 150 times.
153?
6.
153.
153 plus.
5 Felicias?
Bonus episode.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Glenn didn't start
Thanks,
saying
everybody.
that until... I have to find the episode number, but he didn't start saying that until later.
I think I
Happy
said
3
the
years.
first time.
You did. Because I had the sound clip where Brian says, bye, Felicia, and then Glenn's like, who's Felicia?
That's so funny. And stop.
Have a nice day.